makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagelia de Ravine. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Female Founders. In this episode, we are going to have a conversation with Rai Hyde Cornell. She is a business mentor and self-employment coach at Chiron Consulting and also the CEO and senior copywriter at Cornell Content Marketing. Good morning, Rai. You are a business mentor and coach for freelancers and self-employed creative and owners with Chiron Consulting. I'm excited to know about you and the amazing work you have been doing with your company. So I'm curious to know what led you to taking the path of becoming a freelancer in the first place.
That's a good question. I would say, and I think this is true for a lot of people, freelancing for me was a necessity. There were a lot of things going on in my life that I could not fit myself into the traditional employment role of show up at the office, be there at 8 a.m., just all the things that come along with W-2 employment and that traditional model of clock in, clock out, answer to someone. I couldn't do it. Part of it was I was going through a lot of healing from PTSD and trauma to where I literally couldn't function the way I wanted to function. And another part of it was just simply rebellion. I just didn't want to answer to anybody. And it was kind of this combination of things that made freelancing the perfect solution for me. I've always been very independent, very self-driven, self-motivated. And that's what it takes to be a successful freelancer is you have to be okay with being on your own. You have to be okay with making your own schedule, holding yourself accountable to deadlines, all of the things that go into running a business for yourself. And it was just a perfect fit for me. So it started out as necessity and really evolved into something that I am so insanely passionate about. And I think it's really the wave of the future. I think traditional employment in the form that it's been known for the past several decades is going to completely go by the wayside.
Absolutely. And I agree with you with the 8 to 5. For me, that was also a big problem for me. I have to be here from 8 to 5 and I miss everything else in the world. That's boring.
Yeah, exactly. And
especially if you have a bad boss.
A bad boss?
Yeah, we know when you have those bad boss. Not your boss. The boss, they're telling you what to do, yes. And then they're driving you crazy every day. You 1 minute late, they complain about it. And when you come 2 minutes early, they'll say, hey, you're here early. They forgot that you were here early.
Right. And that's the other thing is I had a number of small office jobs here and there. And I think my longest stint of traditional employment was 4 months. And every time I had terrible bosses, absolutely terrible. And, if people in the traditional employment world, the W-2 world, want that to be successful, that's where they need to start. That's where they need to start rectifying those issues of that top down, let the shit roll downhill sort of scenario that's not good for anyone. That's what needs to be rectified, that interpersonal interaction. If they ever want to stop having issues with, staff turnover and, difficulty with recruiting and, all of these things where people abandon their training halfway through. If they want to solve those issues, they're going to have to solve the people problems first.
Absolutely. And I agree with you on that. And actually, don't just put anyone to management. Put someone that's capable of being a manager and not just being a boss, but being a leader that people can learn from and follow the proper way. But you have some, I don't call them leaders, I call them bosses. They just drive you crazy.
Yeah. And it's funny that in our freelance and entrepreneurial world, there's kind of become this trending hashtag of, boss babe or boss lady or whatever it is. But I've never seen that as a good thing. I'm I don't want to be a boss. I want to be a friend, a partner, a mentor, a collaborator. I've never wanted to be that boss thing. And so I'm kind of like, no, keep the boss problems out of our freelance and entrepreneurial world, please.
I agree with you on that because you don't want to be that. Because for me, for my past experience, even working on corporate world and in different companies, for me also, I look at when you talk about this is your boss. I'm like, oh, okay, so I know to stay away from this guy, from this girl because she's probably not nice. But when you tell me that is your leader for me, or that is your mentor for me, I feel a lot more like, okay, that's a whole different level. So I try not to use even at my workplace. We don't use the word boss. Yeah. We're not here to boss you around to do things. Right. We're here to help you learn, guide you. And I think that's one of the things that with what you are doing that I love as a freelancer, let me to ask you why you choose to take a different direction from being a freelancer to now entrepreneurship by starting your own company.
Well, to me, they go hand in hand. They're the same. They're not a different direction. For me, you start out as a freelancer because that's kind of the most easily accessible personal identification that people can latch on to when they go from leaving the W-2 world to being like, okay, I'm going to go freelance. That's an easier step than I'm going to leave the W-2 world and start my own company. That's a much bigger leap. But eventually everyone needs to get there. Anybody who is a freelancer eventually needs to see themselves as a business. They need to see themselves as a business owner. Otherwise, they're constantly going to be in this kind of like romanticized starving artist mentality of feast or famine. When you adopt the mindset of a business owner, I'm still a freelancer. I still consider myself a freelancer. I own a company. I have an EIN, not M. I am an S Corp. I am my own employee. I run payroll for myself. My husband's joining my company. We're going to end up running payroll for him as an employee. We have all of the, logistical, tax, financial structures of a business. And yet I still think of myself as a freelancer because they really are one and the same. It's just a matter of how seriously do you take yourself and how are you going to let other people treat you? That's the other thing with going freelance is a lot of people think I have to take any job I can get. Oh, this client wants this, this, and this. I have to bend over backwards. Like I got to get the job. I got to get the gig. This is going to pay my rent. That's a very starving artist kind of mentality. But when you think of yourselves more as a business owner and you think, look, these are my rates. This is how I operate. These are the types of clients I like to work with. You are setting very healthy boundaries for yourself as a professional. And in that situation, which you can design to suit the life that you want, you are then taking control. You are taking control of your life. You are saying what you deserve. You are saying how things are going to go for you and the way that things need to work for you to be happy and healthy and live the life that you want.
I never looked at it that way, but it makes a lot of sense. You're right. It's being a freelancer business owner.
Yes.
I love it. Yes. It's your mindset at the end of the day. And then you're also right. I think that's one of the things too, as women freelancer, that we face that issue where we feel like we always have to drop our price a lot down to meet people's expectation. But I learned that in a very early, you can't meet the whole world expectation. You're going to be in a lot of problem if you try to do that. So that makes a lot of sense what you're saying. And I hope that women are listening. Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, if we're talking about pricing, because that's probably one of the biggest pain points that I help people through is how do I price myself? Or this client approached me. I don't want to lose the opportunity. So maybe I should bid lower. No, that's why platforms like Fiverr and Upwork exist, because people are always looking for, I shouldn't say everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people are looking for how can I get the best deal, lowest cost, lowest commitment, lowest responsibility on my part. And so they go to platforms like Fiverr and Upwork, whereas the creatives are like, I can't even buy myself dinner with the money from this project. It's not energetically, emotionally, and, based on your experience and your capabilities, it's not worth it. But there's always going to be people on the low end of the spectrum, and there are always going to be people on the high end of the spectrum. I have a friend who writes for tech companies. He gets 4 figures, sometimes $2,000-$3,000 per blog post. Whereas there are people doing blog posts on Fiverr and Upwork for $15, $20, $25. That's the spectrum that we're working with here. And if you just go off of, oh, well, what will someone pay? If you go to Google and you type in, how much should I charge for a blog post? Or what do freelancers charge for blog posts? You're going to get a huge range of responses. Instead, because those things don't matter. You can find people who pay at every single price point. I guarantee it. Instead, look inward. Go, what do I need in order for this time and energy to be worth my while? What do I need to receive in order for what I'm giving to feel equitable?
Yes, I agree. And not only that too, because when you go to Upwork, you go to Fiverr. I'm not saying both of these platforms are bad, but the bad thing with it is the fact that
I'm saying they're bad. I'm saying they're terrible.
But I agree with you on that. Is the fact that can you really make a living of $5?
Right. Exactly.
Can you even make a living of $100? And not only to mention that, I'm pretty sure they're taking a very high percentage out of what you're making.
20%. Yes. It's ridiculous.
20%, that's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. So pretty much, let's say you sell something for $100 and they take that amount and then they transfer the money to you, whatever, if it's PayPal, especially, let's say if it's PayPal take their cut. Not only you end up with nothing really. So you're living in United States, which is where our bills are like to the top to the roof now. And even when you go to the grocery store, you go to the supermarket right now, everything is higher. Something you used to buy for $2, now you're buying it for $5. So not only you can't really pay yourself, you can't really take care of your family off of that. So I see your point there, and I think that is absolutely wrong. But what would be your advice for freelancers? What would be the best way for them to go out there, not to use either Upwork or Fiverr or any little things out there that's just giving them pennies?
Yeah. So you have to start by looking inward. And I don't mean that in a woo-woo, psychological kind of way. I mean, literally sit down with yourself and go, okay, what kinds of projects do I like to do? What types of businesses do I actually really enjoy? What types of things am I interested in? Make a list of all of these things and then think about, okay, so let's say I'm going to use one of the writers on my team, for example. She's very into health and wellness, not so much like fitness particularly, like she's not about like getting buff, but she's very about, taking good care of yourself, like extending the aging process, having vitality into your 50s and 60s. She has lost a spouse. So the mental well-being of that whole grieving process and everything, those are the things that are really interesting to her at the current stage of her life that she's in. So we look at, okay, what types of businesses also share those interests? What types of businesses, whether they're publications, maybe they're online magazines, maybe they're product-based businesses, maybe they're service-based businesses, what companies share your interests and your values and would appreciate your own unique personal experience? When you look at it that way, then the list of potential clients just starts to unfold in your head. You can do a Google search for health and wellness companies that target women over 50, and you will get dozens upon dozens. Those are the companies that you then talk to, that you approach. You friend their, let's say, I'm going to use freelance writers as this example, but this applies to designers, photographers, videographers, website developers. I mean, it really applies to any creative service-based business. But let's say you are a blog writer and you want to work with AARP. Okay, so who is their director of marketing? Who is their marketing manager? Who is their editor? Who's their editorial manager? Find those people, connect with them on LinkedIn, email them a pitch, focus on pointing out your shared connection, your shared interests, your shared values, your shared passions. Focus on that and build a genuine relationship with the people who are progressing the companies that you believe in. Don't go to Upwork where people are literally looking for the cheapest, quickest, down and dirty work that they can get their hands on. They don't value you. They don't share your same values. One of the biggest issues that freelancers face is burnout. We push and we push and we push and we drive ourselves forward. And we know that we have to wear all the hats. And if our business and our livelihood is going to be successful, we have to work. It's a one-to-one comparison. I work, I pay the mortgage. There's nothing in between. So in order to avoid burnout, you have to be doing work that matters to you. It has to be meaningful. It has to fulfill you, not just financially, but also emotionally and on that value-based perspective where you feel like you're contributing to something that makes you feel good, that you would feel proud to put that in your portfolio.
I love that. I think that's a great advice. And I know that that's the whole purpose why you started your own business as a freelancer, also added where you can also help other freelancers. So can you tell us more about Chiron Consultant? I know that you mentor and coach freelancers.
Yes. So, what we've been talking about so far is really the work I do on the Cornell Content Marketing side. I'm a content creator, copywriter. I have a team of people. We do full service content marketing. That's a business that I've built up over the last 15 years, where I started as a freelancer out of necessity, and it has come to this. Over the years, probably the past 8 to 9, I've had a pretty large team, sometimes up to about 30 people. Right now, I think we recently scaled back at the beginning of this year, and I think now we have about 17 or 18 people on the team. And over time, as you can probably tell, I get very passionate about these things regarding how freelancers treat themselves. So in the process of working with freelance writers and designers, my way of working with people on my team is I say, look, this is the project. You tell me how much you would charge. I don't say, hey, we pay this much for a blog post, or I pay this much for logo design. I'm not going to put rates on anyone else. It's my responsibility to fit that into the budget and get my clients based on what my contractors charge me. But I always ask my contractors, my freelancers, tell me what you would charge. And I had so many freelance writers in particular coming to me saying, my rate for a blog post is $30. And I'm like, no, it better not be. Absolutely not. If this is the first blog post you have ever written in your life, the minimum I will pay you is $60. If you have more experience than that, then let's increase that. Let's go higher and higher. Like, no, I'm not going to pay you $30. I'm not going to feed into this system of paying you pennies to where you have to work 14, 16-hour days just to pay your rent. Absolutely not. So, because I get a bit heated about this, and I was kind of imposing unsolicited advice on my team, they started to feel comfortable asking me, okay, well, I have this other client. What should I be charging them? And, I want to get more clients like you. I want to work with more agencies. What would you recommend? And it just kind of naturally evolved into this process of me mentoring the people on my team. That was so fulfilling to me. I felt like this evolution that I've been on of figuring all this stuff out, because I used to write $25 blogs for Subaru and Mazda through a platform called CopyPress. I used to do that back in the day, way back in the day. And so I've been there. I understand what that's like. And so to then get to help the next generation of freelancers have healthier businesses and healthier relationships with their clients and their money, that just felt so good. So with all of that said, that's why I decided to start a second company, Chiron Consulting. I started that in 2019, and it has just become more of my passion project, my mission and my purpose. Whereas Cornell is really where that's more of my legacy. I get to do what comes naturally to me with, content marketing and copywriting and the way I work with clients and my perspective on marketing. That's kind of that side of my brain. And then the Chiron Consulting side is really where my heart comes into play. And I really get to feel like I'm helping other people have a higher quality of life through freelancing while keeping their freedom.
So with Chiron Consultant, what kind of services do you? I know that you do mentoring and coaching. Anything else you offer them? Do you have like one-on-one coaching or group coaching, or is it like courses? How does it actually work?
All of the above. So every month I do a workshop. This month in September, it's the Q4 planning workshop on September 27th. Next month, it's the Self-Employed Creatives Business Plan workshop. And then in November, we're doing Price Yourself Perfectly. In December, I have Business Building Week, which is a 5-day long event. It's 2 hours Monday through Friday. And we kind of alternate between these business building, logistical, practical exercises and these more energetic kind of manifestation exercises on alternating days. So yes, I do monthly workshops. I also have a couple courses available, particularly with regard to money mindset and figuring out your perfect rate sheet that's going to support the life that you want, including putting money into retirement accounts and savings accounts and, all of those things. We have a lot of free resources. I have my podcast. We have the complete guide to building a successful freelance business. I have a 8-day manifestation course that is completely free. So lots of free things. And then particularly with regard to mentoring, I do one-on-one mentoring with freelancers. And then we do have a group program that's starting in 2023 for people who want more of a community-centric approach.
I like that. And then also with the one-on-one mentoring, is it like something they get your support when they need it, or is it something like they have to be like in this program for a certain amount of time?
So it's a 3-month commitment. Most of the people that I work with, they end up doing 2 or 3-month segments. So they'll stay with me for 6 or 9 months, and then they'll go to like a la carte type sessions. So in that 3-month program, we work together either every other week or weekly. It's up to you. It depends on how fast you want your business to move, how busy you are, how much time you want in between our sessions to do the work and move things forward for your business. So either twice per month or 4 times per month. And the people I do private mentoring with, they also get unlimited messaging with me, either over Voxer or Slack. So if they do have questions on the fly where they're like, hey, I just started talking to this client. They want me to send a proposal. I don't know what to include. I don't know how to approach this. Can you look at my proposal? Can you give me feedback? I will do that within 24 hours of getting that message. And then also they get access to all of my workshops, all of my courses. They get access to everything as part of that mentoring bundle.
Wow, I liked it. And it's kind of like what I like about it, because especially as a freelancer, if you said, okay, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to become a freelancer, or you let go, you have no choice to become a freelancer. You don't have that mindset, like you said before, you don't have that mindset of a business owner. So having that guidance as a freelancer to even kind of help you what to price, what not to price. Don't get me wrong, Google is a great place to find information, but sometimes the information I just think. So that's just my point of view. So it's good to have someone.
Right. And Google is going to give you information based on a conglomerate of data sources. When we work together one-on-one, I'm basing my recommendations and the information that I'm giving you, or the guidance I'm giving you, or the things that we discuss and process and work through, we're doing that custom to you. So for example, one of the gals that I work with, she has a type of personality where she likes to do focused work in very short blocks. She works about 3 to 4 hours a day, and usually only like 3 to 5 days a week. And so what we're talking about for her business model is going to look very different than someone I work with there's another gal I work with who has a full-time job right now, and we are ramping up her freelance business to get her to the point where she can quit her full-time job. And then I have someone else who enjoys working like 7 to 8 hours a day. And she likes to work, in the evenings predominantly. And these are very different women with very different skill sets. And I work with men too. So don't think that I limit just to women. But these are, in these particular cases, these 3 women are very different ages, different interests, different goals in life, different priorities. And so therefore their business model has to be different. And so that's I would say that's probably the most valuable thing of working with a mentor is you're getting advice that is specifically tailored to you and what you want your life to look like, not just typing something into Google and the results assuming that you want a particular thing or you want what everybody else, quote unquote, wants. It's very customized.
Exactly. And I think that's the proper way to go about it as well. And not only that, also is the fact that a lot of things you're going to probably will find in Google, they're old as well.
Yeah.
And you have been into that spot for a very long time. So you know what's going on. You know what to do, how everything is going, how much that was being charged 5 years ago. You've been in this for over 15 years. So don't $30 was 15 years ago. It's not 2022 anymore. So these things change, and I think having a mentor like you completely help. And I don't know, if I was a freelancer, I'd completely just go for it. That's just my way.
Well, and I think it's an important point when you are looking for information. If you're looking for guidance, if you're looking for reference points outside of yourself, like, what are other people charging and things like that. Yes, I've been around for 15 years and I've been doing this for a very long time. So I am old, like Google in a sense, but also I'm still freelancing. A lot of mentors and coaches that I see, they did the thing and then they decided to completely pivot and become coaches or mentors, and they're no longer doing the thing. They're no longer in it. I'm still in it. I still run my freelance business. I'm still in content marketing. I just sent out 2 proposals last week, 1 this week. I think I have to do another one tomorrow. I'm still actively in it. And so I feel like that's an important thing to look for, even if someone is listening to this and they don't like my vibe or whatever, and they're like, no, I would never work with Ray. That's totally fine. Go find someone who is still in it so they can still give you that insight and those market trends. And, is this the way things work? Is this normal? How should I approach this situation in the present day? Because as we all know, COVID totally transformed the way things operate, and it really transformed businesses' perspectives on working with independent contractors. And that is still an evolving relationship. So no matter who you seek information from or end up working with as your mentor, make sure that they're still present in the market today and not just leaving their old business and starting this new one as a consultant based on the information they had 2 or 3 or 5 years ago.
Absolutely. Not only 2 or 3, 5 years ago, let's just say 15 years ago. Yes. I seen it even 20 years. Yeah. I have one lady that say that I've been doing online marketing since 1959. I'm like, 1959? It didn't exist.
Yeah. Well, and I be a little bit of a devil's advocate in this situation. The things that happened back in 1959 when advertising was, newspapers and radio, some of those things are coming back now. So there is some, there's a lot of value in working with someone who has a long history in the marketplace where they can look at these cyclical trends that tend to come back up. But at the same time, you want to make sure that if she was a consultant she was working actively in 1959, that she has continued to be present in whatever her field of expertise is in. And she didn't stop in 2002 and become a consultant, because then that's her frame of reference, 59 to 02. You want to make sure that you're working with someone who is actively still involved in whatever industry you're seeking knowledge and guidance and information in.
Exactly. They didn't take a break for a few years and then come back and then have no clue what's been happening in 2022.
Things
I completely
they
agree with
change
you
so
on that.
fast. Yeah.
So now that brings me to Cornell Content Marketing. What kind of service? What are all the services that you offer with that company itself?
Quite a bit. It's evolved over the years. When I first started out, so I started freelancing as a website developer. When I was a kid, I changed schools in 4th grade, and I left one school, and then I knew that I was going to be starting another school in the fall. And so I was in this like weird transition, and I basically didn't have any friends because I was about to start a new school and I hadn't met anybody yet. So I spent the summer teaching myself coding. I taught myself HTML and CSS and PHP, which back in the day, that's how you built websites. It's not like, Squarespace and Elementor and Webflow and things like nowadays. And so when I got into that situation where I needed to bring in income, that was my first go-to. I was a freelance website developer. I loved writing. So I then also did the website content. Over the years, I evolved into learning more about the differences between content and copywriting. I really fell in love with copywriting. I like the psychology of buying. All my degrees are in psychology, so that's probably where that comes in. And the companies that I started working with were bigger and bigger and bigger companies, and they needed more than just the words. They needed the design, or they needed a social media manager, they needed video, they needed podcast management. And so being the uber Capricorn problem solver that I am, I started bringing together these creatives who had all the skills that I didn't. So within Cornell, we actually have 3 service verticals. We have the copywriting vertical, which is mostly mine. That's where we do email marketing, ad copy, sales landing pages, all that kind of very close to the conversion type of writing. Then we have content creation. That's very top of the funnel, brand awareness, blog content, lead magnets, website pages, all of that. And then we have our multimedia vertical. So this is where we have social media management, video production, podcast management, website design and development. My husband has taken over as our website developer. He now does all of our websites for us, and he's brilliant at it. So we are able to provide this very turnkey, complete, full service package to our clients. And some, they're like, nope, I just need email marketing. I just need you to write emails. That's it.
Right.
Others are like, I just need blog content. And others are like, no, we want everything. So it allows us to have a lot of flexibility. And also it kind of makes my heart happy because I get to bring together these creatives and raise their prices for them. I think in the past month, I've given raises to 3 of my team members who didn't even ask for it. I was just like, you've been with me for 2 years. You got a raise last year. It's time to do it again. Here's what you're getting paid now. And they're like, okay. So it feels good to kind of have that pay it forward sort of relationship.
Yes, and I love the fact that you're keeping your team in mind. It's not just, because you have some business owners, they focus on, well, I need that new house. Well, that new car come out. The iPhone just come out. I need to focus on that. And they forget that team members are also play a big role in the company. So you care about your teams, and I think that will take you a very long way.
I hope so. And it's not to say that I forget about all that personal stuff. I mean, my husband is about to retire from his full-time job and come work with my company as his complete and only source of income. And so my business is now, it's our household's self-sustaining machine. It pays my salary. Yes. It's going to pay his salary. It pays our bills. But also I am that for a lot of our team members as well. And a lot of our team members have other clients too. But it becomes much more of a Rubik's Cube to put together things like proposals and pricing and our brand messaging and all of these things when I am focused on my and my husband's goals. We want to travel, we want to buy property, we want to build a house, all of these things. But also I want to make sure that those goals don't overshadow to the point where I'm giving my clients a proposal and I'm trying to get my contractors, expenses down as small as I can. That's not my goal. My goal is to create a win-win-win for my household, my team members, and my clients. And the thing is, a lot of people don't think that's possible. They've been brought up in this very corporate, kind of overly competitive world where they think competition and standing on each other's backs is the only way to move up. And that's not the case. You can really achieve everything you want from a collaborative approach and keep everybody in mind without sacrificing anything.
Absolutely. I don't have anything to add to it because you said it perfectly. So now that gets me curious. I was listening to some of your podcast episode, which is Soar, the Soar podcast. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, the Soar podcast, I'm very, you might be surprised to learn, I'm very introverted. So I meet with clients and do extroverted things like this 2 days a week. And other than that, I am in my little bubble as a writer, in my little house that I work at, live at, never leave. And so I was taking a shower one day and I had this epiphany that I wanted to do a podcast. And I was like, where the hell did that come from? And I'm the type of person who, when I say I want to do something, it happens. It's going to happen. It's not just an idea. It's going to happen. So we did a podcast, and the podcast is really conversations with other freelancers and talking about, one, their unique business models. So I want people to see what's possible. For example, I have a friend who was on the podcast, Matt Caskey, who makes a living spinning basketballs on wine bottles. He is a basketball entertainer.
Wow.
That is what he does. That is what he loves. He loves entertaining kids. He loves, putting on events, and he does it, and he's doing amazingly at it. So I want people to see, no matter what you're passionate about, you can build a business off of that. It's not, you have to do things this way, and you have to, sell this service, and you have to price yourself at this rate, and you're only ever going to make this amount. That's not true. So one goal of the podcast is to show people really what's possible. The other goal of the podcast is to take these people who have been freelancing and independent income generators for so many years and hand their advice and expertise down to people who are still figuring it out. And granted, everyone's still figuring it out. Everyone's still changing things, but taking that experience and advice and making it available to people who can relate to those same stories and who want a similar business model.
I love it, because you know what? You can go to school and spend $100,000 and you come out with nothing really. But the experience costs even a lot more than that. So when a podcaster bring a guest that can give you information, value it, because that information, it's worth a lot more than just that figure you're going to pay $100,000 for. That's just my point of view. But that's how I feel.
I completely agree. And a lot of people, when they're just starting out with freelance, the question on their minds is, I don't even know where to start. Where do I start? What do I do? And so by giving people these stories within the podcast, it's kind of my way of saying, this is what you could do, or this is what you could do, or this is what you could do. I want people to see, I think the tagline of the show is turning the impossible into the inevitable. And it's really my mission to get people out of their own way. Break down the walls, oh, that's not possible. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I would never be able to make that work. And to dissolve all of those and show them, look, people are doing it. People are living these amazing lives. And it's not that you have to have the laptop nomad lifestyle. That's what some people are doing, but that's not what everybody wants. So whatever you want, it's possible. I guarantee it. You just have to figure out how to make it work for you, for your personality, for your interests, for your unique energy levels and patterns and interests and way of working. You have to figure out all those pieces, and then it'll all come together.
Exactly. And by any chance, if you're having a hard time making all come together, you can always call Ray.
I'm here. I promise. That's exactly what I help people do every day. Let's talk about it.
They can just call you. So now, what keeps you motivated through tough times as a freelance business owner?
I think tough times is relative. It's funny because my husband and I were just talking about this the other day, because he's about to retire from his job. And we were talking about how when the economy takes a hit and it's so-called tough times for a lot of people, I actually don't feel the tough times. And the reason for that is because, my husband, as an employee, his company could lay him off like that. Just in a moment, he could be laid off. He could be out of a job. He has all his eggs in one basket, basically. Whereas with my business and with freelancers' business models, we have all of our eggs in a number of different baskets. I think I have maybe 20, 25 clients, somewhere like that right now. And so all of my eggs, so to speak, are spread across, let's say, 20 baskets. If one basket breaks, I'm okay. I'm not going to just plummet to the ground. I still have a lot to rely on. And it's much easier for me to replace that one basket if I need to than to replace the one holding all the eggs. This is a terrible analogy, but you get what I'm trying to say. And so if we're talking about tough times in the sense of the economy, increasing prices and things like that, because I run a freelance business model, I don't really feel that. Now, if we're talking about tough times in the sense of, personal difficulties or family loss or stress or anything like that, really what keeps me going is knowing that this is all within my control and it's all of my own design. So, for instance, a couple years ago, I was just so stressed all the time. And I was like, why am I so stressed? And I'm looking at my calendar. I'm like, God, I have so many meetings and meetings take so much energy out of me. And when am I going to get all my writing work done? And then realizing, wait, this is all of my own design. I get to say how I work. There's no boss telling me I have to meet at this time and, be in my desk chair at this time and this time. That's when I learned, okay, let me consolidate all my meetings into Tuesdays and Thursdays, because one meeting drains me just as much as 10. And so why not put them all together? And then that gives me Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday with no meetings, nothing draining. I get to recharge, do my creative work. And so anytime there are so-called tough times, or, a couple years ago, we lost my husband's grandfather, who was very, 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 very important in my husband's life. He was more like a father to him. And we needed to drop everything and go to Oregon. We just had to. I can do that. I don't have to ask anybody for paid time off. I don't have to ask anybody for FMLA. I don't have to do anything to ask for someone's permission. I just do it. And I tell my clients, hey, this happened. I'm going to be about 2 days behind on our project. Here's the solution. I always come to every situation with a solution, not just problems. And so no matter what tough times happen, my business is so flexible because it's of my own design that it can absorb any difficulties. And I think that's why I encourage people so much to design a business that really suits them, as opposed to, going to Google and downloading a business plan for freelancing. Don't do that, because that blueprint may not work for you. It worked for the person who created it, but that may not work for you. And so as long as you keep that in mind and you keep yourself at the center, no matter where you bend and sway and shift, your business will do so with you.
Your business follow you where you go too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when my husband and I met, we were living in San Diego, and we moved to Texas to be closer to his mom, who was going through cancer treatments. And we were able to just pick up and move without having to worry about my work. He was able to get a transfer from California to Texas through his job, but we didn't have to juggle that factor on my end, because my business goes with me. Exactly. All I need is an internet connection. That's it.
Pretty much. You just need the internet. So I do understand, even when you talk about meetings also can burn you out. And I went through a similar situation as you, to a point where I used to do my discovery call on Zoom, and I completely stopped doing it. It's just a phone call, because I figured that the fact that I need to be on Zoom, if I was going to wear a TikTok to just sit at home working, but now I need to get dressed. And I need to do this, or I need to do that. And for someone like me that has acne, my makeup is something certain time, like today, I'm not wearing any makeup because I can't, because my face.
And you look gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you. Because my face start itching, and as soon as I start putting it and my face start itching, I just wash my face out. It is what it is. I'm not gonna wear makeup. So those things, for me, it was like, when people ask me, can we do a Zoom meeting? I'm like, no, because I can do a discovery call with you over the phone for 10, 15 minutes and I'm done. But I'm not gonna get in a Zoom with you for 30 minutes, and then that's not good for me, because I can do 2 phone calls in that 30 minutes instead. So those are the changes that I end up making myself to fix my own burnout, that I was burning out, being in and out of Zoom meetings, which was ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think that's brilliant. And that's the thing, is you have to, that's what I mean when I say focus inward. It's not, oh my God, are my clients going to be upset by this? Honestly, because I did the same thing. I set it to, when someone books a call with me in Calendly, the default is phone. And the only time we'll do Zoom is if they need to bring someone else into the conversation. And so we need more of like a conference call sort of thing. Otherwise, I'm just going to be calling you on my cell phone. It's just, that's just easier for everybody involved. And I can be in my PJs, my hair all a mess. I don't care. I'm still doing my job. And so what you did in that situation is you looked inward. You go, what is going to be better for me? How do I not get to the point of burnout? How do I prioritize my health, even the health of your skin, where you're like, you know what, it's so much healthier for my skin to not wear makeup. I would prefer to not do Zoom so I don't feel like I need to wear makeup. And that's healthier for you all around, not just mental health and, avoiding burnout, but also the physical side. So those are the exact small tweaks and changes that we can make in our business to make our lives so much easier and more enjoyable while still running our business. And a lot of times the pain points that we feel, like Zoom fatigue, which I guarantee you it's a legit thing, like everyone's
It is, because I went through it.
Yeah. And nowadays when I do a phone call with someone, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm so relieved this is a phone call and not another Zoom. I'm like, girl, I get it. No need to be on camera if we don't have to be.
Yes, absolutely. So I understand everyone likes to like the camera, and I don't have anything against the camera, but there's the time for the camera, there's the time we do not need the camera. We still have the phone. If we're paying the phone bill, we might as well just use it.
Exactly. And, on that point, I will say, I've had freelancers say things to me like, well, nobody's going to hire me if they don't see me. I have closed about half, maybe more of the deals that we have in the business without ever seeing the person that I've talked to on the phone. So that's a myth. It's a very big, pervasive myth in our Zoom culture nowadays that you have to see someone in order to feel good about them and hire them to do a job. It's not
That's
true.
not true. No, I don't think so. I think it's a matter of just making sure the person can do the job.
Yeah.
Like, seriously,
And
before...
it's about you feeling confident.
Yeah. So before the video things exist, so you're telling me people didn't hire other people. Remember when we used to have that big phone that we carry around? So it still works. So I think people are just trying to make things harder for themselves. But at the end of the day, really, as a business owner, you have to make sure you don't burn out, because if you're not burning out, you can help your clients a lot better. So that's my point of view.
Exactly.
Be who you are. Don't try to be a celebrity, because you are not a celebrity. You are a business owner, celebrity of your own business. So work it the way you want to work it. Who cares what others have to say?
Very well said. Yes, very, very well said. And
so do you have any advice for women starting out their own business?
Ooh, how much time do we have? Yes, tons. First and foremost, keep yourself at the center of your business. We've talked about it with regard to the way that you communicate with clients. Also, things like, a friend of mine, she only works from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, because those are the days that her daughter is in school, and that's when she's able to work. I mean, literally think about what can you do that will fit into your life. What do you want your life to look like? Start there. Start with the big picture. What do you really want your life to look like? And then design a business that fits into that vision for your future. When you start building that business, you will get to that ideal vision of your future so much faster. It will happen. If you start with what feels quote unquote normal, which, God, that's an awful word, isn't it? Like, everything that's normal is usually outdated, and, we just keep doing it because we've been doing it so long sort of justification, but it doesn't actually work, or maybe it's not the best way to do things. When you start with what's close and what feels normal, that's where you're going to get yourself into a lot more trial and error. You're going to get yourself into situations where you feel burned out, unhappy, unsatisfied, unfulfilled, unappreciated. And that's not what I want for anybody. So as much as possible, and it might take you some time to stretch into this, but as much as possible, think about the dream scenario. What would your dream life look like? Be realistic with that, because a lot of people, they think, oh, well, the dream life would be if I could just sit on a beach and sip margaritas and not work at all. Really? Do you really think you're that type of person? Like, do you really think that you can't work? Because a lot of people, especially the ones that I work with, they're just so driven that they can't not work. They can't not create. They can't not generate an income for themselves with their own hands. It's in them. It's ingrained in who they are. So be realistic with what you actually want your life to look like, and then reverse engineer the process from there. if you do that, you will never not be successful. You will always have something that you're passionate about and driven to build, and it will become that dream vision inevitably. Like it's impossible for it to not.
Great advice, Ray. I have nothing to add to it. Great advice. And thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with me and for allowing me to learn more about what you are doing and how you are helping freelancers and starting out or either trying to build it out or turn it to a freelance business owner. However, what they want to do with their life, it's important, and I'm always grateful to see what other women are doing. It's amazing. No one knows we are doing them, but we are there just doing it, and then we just don't have the camera in front of us every day telling us, giving us prizes or all those big things, but we are doing a lot. And I wish that we'll get credit for them more often, but I thank you for giving us the chance to share what you are doing with our audience and with women that needs your help.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ray, for taking the time to have this conversation with me. Let me know your thoughts about this episode with Ray. And to learn more about Ray and Chiron Consultant, visit www.chironconsultant.us. Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app or connect with us on womel.com so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.